Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Community Environment Action Conference 2019. We're going to compress both the panels into one hour section, followed by some great networking afterwards. I'd like to introduce our panel today. Hannah Barrett from the Plunkett Foundation, Jane Dodson from Locality, Keith Harrison from Action with Communities in Rural Kent, and Melissa Dawkins from the Craftship Crafted Enterprises. So over to you then, Hannah, our first contestant. Thank you very much. Certainly.
Thank you very much. Hello, good afternoon. So yes, I'm Hannah from the Plunkett Foundation. The Plunkett Foundation is a UK-wide organisation that supports communities to set up and save their services. These can be really varied activities, and it really does depend on each individual community that we work with as to what community business they end up putting up for their community. So to give you a few examples of kind of the work we get up to, we can help communities to save their shops. So this is Barrett in Kent. They've had business support from Plunkett when they were setting up, through to pubs, so the Harrow in Stockbury, as well as Y Community Farm, who are actually in the building at the moment. Stephanie's here today. So we helped with farm businesses as well. Woodlands, so we've got a fantastic Making Local Woods Work project I've been speaking to a couple of people about already. So we've got some fantastic research papers, and we've been helping communities to run woodland social enterprises. So whether you want to set up a bakery, create a leisure centre or a swimming pool, a fuel station, through to kind of petrol stations and distilleries in Scotland. So the biggest community-owned business is actually a distillery up in Scotland. We're all about helping communities to protect their amenities, but also to set up something new. And it's about helping communities to think about what they've already got. So if you've got an asset that you're perhaps not really using anymore, you could think about how else you could use it. So you could turn it into a shop or post office, or perhaps the church, again into a shop or cafe. Or if you need something temporary, just as a short-term solution, Plunkett could help you with that as well. The work that we do is varied, as I said, so we can provide business support, action planning, take you on a study visit and go and find someone else who's already doing it, but we can pay you and pay them to do that. Our work is all about working in collaboration, and we were asked to come up with some kind of good practical ways that you could reach out to people or funders, and Plunkett have found that collaborating with others is super important to this. So on a national scale, we actually work with Locality, Jane, and also Keith's organisation, Rural Kent, more locally. And if you collaborate with others, you're kind of telling everyone that you're happy to work alongside your kind of potential competitors, or perhaps those that have better or different skills to yourselves. So Locality do a fantastic job in urban areas, whereas Plunkett specialise in rural areas. So there's kind of a really natural alignment there. We found collaborating with our beneficiaries also incredibly important, demonstrating to them that you'll take on board their feedback and that you'll develop projects around their needs. So this is our community pubs membership, which we recently launched, and this was involving 9 community pubs that were up and trading, telling us how they want to be linked together. So we helped that and created that with some funding. Also really important is having data. Being able to demonstrate your impact, so quantitative data, where do you work, what kind of organisations do you work with, who are the people that you're supporting. Fantastic, make sure that you can display that and tell others really eloquently what you get up to. But really, really important is qualitative data, being able to tell your story and asking your beneficiaries to help you with that, get some quotes from people, so those funders and other people that you might want to support are talking directly to each other. So some really passionate qualitative data, fantastic for helping you there. And here's just another one as well. And I have to say, to get our data, we do undertake quite a lot of research, and we also do evaluations, but really simple feedback surveys at sessions can give you these kind of quotes that you can then use for other funding applications. So Plunkett Foundation, we're a UK-wide organisation. If you're looking to set up or save a service, do just give us a call, send us an email. We've got a plethora of resources online. Thank you very much.
Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Right, great. Anyway, moving on. We're trying to keep it really tight and compressed, so here we go.
Thanks. Sorry, I just need to get my presentation up. Sorry, everyone. Just do a quick handover. So my name's Jane. I'm from an organisation called Locality. It's a membership organisation. And we have about 600 members across the whole of England. And this is what we do. So we do some peer-to-peer learning as well. So we organise kind of knowledge and skills exchanges within and amongst the membership, so people can learn from each other. But what we also do is try to influence the operating environment that our members are working in. So a lot of our members are managing land or buildings on behalf of the community and for the community. So what we try and do in our policy work is influence that agenda as well. So I'm going to talk to you about two of our key campaigns this afternoon. One of them is called Save Our Spaces and one's called Keep It Local. So that's a bit about our network and the breadth of it. So the Save Our Spaces campaign, it covers everything from swimming pools to green spaces to large kind of community buildings that have been brought back into community use. And what we did was some research, and we found that a lot of these spaces are being sold off by local authorities for whatever reason. And in fact, it's what we came up with through the research was that a lot of these buildings are at risk of then going into private ownership, and many of them were actually developed for public ownership in the first place. So we've got 5 calls in our Save Our Spaces campaign, which you can see, and at the centre of it is a fund to bring from the Dormant Assets Fund to release funding so that communities can take on these spaces. The other thing that we're looking at is legislation, so making it easier for organisations to take on these spaces and turning the right to bid into the right to buy, for example. Okay. This is an example of a space under threat. This is a fort in Portsmouth, which is being used as a leisure facility. And it's under threat because they have a lease which isn't quite long enough for funders to invest in. So they're now talking to the local authority and in having a collaboration with them in order to access funds and keep these open. And this is a success story. So Horton Chapel in Epsom in Surrey, it was a former chapel site, and they're now turning that into an arts and heritage centre that will be disability friendly and also for people with learning difficulties and mental health issues. It'd be a really accessible and beautiful space. And we've helped them to do that. Okay, and you can find out more on the website. There are case studies throughout. These are the kinds of support that we give to organisations. And that's the report, the research report on our website, if any of you are interested in following that up. There's also a toolkit of how you can take over a space, which I'd encourage people to look at. And then Keep It Local, very quickly, which is our campaign with local authorities to encourage commissioners to look locally to commission services. Rather than commissioning kind of big, large-scale national organisations, we encourage people to see the social value in working with people locally. Again, we've got 5 points, but it's basically about involving people in the design of these commissioned services, as well as then opening it up and making it available to organisations that might want to take this on. So it's a 2-pronged approach. We work with local authorities and at a national level to get the policy in place, but then we try and build capacity and support at a local level to enable people to take on those services. Lots more on the website, and yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much. Thanks for your time. Any questions?
Feel free to ask questions because that we really welcome people getting involved.
And I've got a microphone special.
Yeah. All right then. Keith, did you want to go?
Good afternoon, everybody. That's nice and loud, isn't it? Here we go, that's nice, isn't it? If there's one thing I want you to take away today, it's the top line, that mantra that nobody should be disadvantaged by where they live. Because everything I tell you about action with communities in rural Kent should really, at least in part, serve that mantra. That's really why we're here. Bit of background, we were set up in 1923. We were inspired by an organisation in Oxfordshire called the Oxfordshire Rural Community Council. This is after the First World War, broken economy, austerity, sense that people in rural communities needed some support to manage their own affairs, take over buildings, to run events, set up parish and town councils and so forth. And so in Oxfordshire, the Women's Institute, the University in Oxford and the County Council got together to form something called the Oxfordshire Rural Community Council, which brought together other organisations to support people in rural communities. And this idea spread across the country, so 3 years later here in Kent, the English Folk Dance Society, KCC, the Women's Institute, YMCA, WWCA and the Workers' Education Association set us up. And we started to work by initially just having lots of committees that told people what to do. That's the wrong way to approach things, of course. And then we started employing community workers. And this model spread around the country until the mid-70s. And so there's a body like us in every county in England. And like the Plunkett Foundation, like Locality, we don't work on our own, we work in partnership. We try to. So we were given 3 questions to answer today. I'll try and rattle through these very quickly in a why we do it, what we do and how we do it, and see if I get somewhere. So the first one, transforming lives and connecting people, is really about people. Why we do this is people are a long way from basic services. They might be with the transport, the broadband infrastructure, the childcare, the buildings, the places in which services and the basic needs of everyday life matter. And in Kent, we've got a 500,000 rural population, about 100,000 affected by some form of poverty and disadvantage. And that's before you get into transport and other issues which get in the way of people having access to jobs, education, housing in the way that we all need. So this photograph behind me, you'll see a group of ex-offenders developing their fitness in one of our rather nice landscapes. You'll see a sign for Community Green Burial Site, which is an interesting project we got involved in. You've got Barrett Community Shop, stars of the afternoon, because Plunkett mentioned them. We did things like the store layout advice for them. A celebratory event for village halls. And at the end, we got a little EU thing, because one of our worries about Brexit is the getting rid of funds allow community groups and projects to travel within the UK and outside it to learn new ways of working. We've taken advantage of that. And there's a big concern for us that knowledge transfer and that means of supporting it where it doesn't make a profit is going to be removed. And a lot of our work has come from the back of those sorts of partnerships. I should add, we go into communities as the invited guests. We're around long enough that the village hall, the shop, the parish council will invite us in to provide training, advice, networking opportunities, guidance on projects. So we can go in at the behest of the community, and we only really lead projects where we find 8, 10, 15, 30, 100 communities with the same issue, and it makes economic sense to bring them together to run a project that benefits a lot. So in places, we've got one here behind us, which is supported by SKC. That's about turning a foraging business into a social enterprise, going out and using the natural resources of the county. Middle one, village halls, 400 in Kent. We operate what's effectively their parliament. We worked with 176 of them last year on everything from getting new roofs to fights between committee members. And the far side is affordable housing, one of our growing areas of work. We've run an affordable housing support service for the last 20 years. We conduct rural housing needs surveys. There are 1,600 people living in £100 million worth of affordable housing on Kent on the back of our work in villages across Kent and Medway. And that's expanding now with something called community-led housing. So we're working on community land trusts, co-housing, shared ownership and so forth. And that's why I wasn't here this morning. I was working on something like that. Finally, if you get all this right, you hopefully help improve people's health and well-being. That's about impact. That's about working with our National Association, ACRE, who's just got a phrase into the House of Lords inquiry on the rural economy, which is nobody should be unduly disadvantaged by where they live. Yes, so our statement at the beginning, which we've been banning for 10 years, is now in a government document. It's about working with bodies like Plunkett, like SKC, and one or two others around the county who actually have complementary services, skill sets, interests with us, and we work smartly together to deliver for our beneficiaries. If we forget who our beneficiaries are, then we're not worth working with. And with that, I'm going to hand over to a beneficiary of ours, because I'm about to finish. We do work occasionally in urban areas where we're asked to transfer our expertise, and one project we're running at the moment is through Stronger Kent Communities called Place-Based Social Enterprise. And Craftship Enterprise is part of the Made in Ashford initiative, and Melissa is going to come and talk to you. She's got a photograph of one of my colleagues who can't be here today because he's just won an ultra-marathon in the Lake District. I've said enough. I'll take questions, I think, after Melissa, you've dazzled them. Thank you.
I'll take it, you just press the middle one. I've never done one of these before. Which bit? Oh, that makes sense. Cool. So our shop, Made in Ashford, started in 2015. We started as a shop share with 6 of us, and the council asked us to go into a shop as part of their regeneration. Then fast forward to now, and we have over 50 tenants, mainly of which are women. And many of them suffer with mental health problems and can't work a traditional 9-to-5 job. And one day, Buddy Carr, he came in and he said, "Do you realise you're running a social enterprise?" I was like, "No, what's one of those?" And from there, he helped me get the paperwork sorted out and become a CIC, which opened up a lot of funding streams and support for us. There are all of some of our women and my granddad there, who was helping me with the refit when we did that, and we're all a really good community of friends as well. There is Carl, so he is the guy who helped me set it up, and there's also other places that have been really beneficial to us in support, which Beck from Social Enterprise Kent has been one of them, and so have CCADS. And I wanted to tell you about how we engage some of our beneficiaries, and here is one of our workshops, or a couple of our workshops that we put on to engage other women in the town and children into creating things and improving their well-being. We try to have these workshops to help make sure that our members can create sustainable employment for themselves. So they get paid to put on these workshops for different people, so then they benefit from this by gaining better pay. And here we are at a festival, so we also try to engage with the community at any events possible. And here we are providing free face painting in Ashford, hanging out with Pudsey, doing hook a duck and all kinds of things. This is another way we engage with our potential beneficiaries of some of our projects, which was by being involved in another project. This was the home project from People United, and that lady there is Jamila, and she now comes and hangs out with us in our shop. And she expressed an interest in learning to make clothes and start up her own business doing that. So we're just about to start a project doing that, of which Carl from Rural Kent has helped us get an Awards for All funding for that as well. We've also started setting up social enterprise breakfasts. Social Enterprise Kent have been helping us do that, and Rural Kent. There we are, our first one. That's helped us get lots more people involved in our social enterprise as well. And here is another way we've got towards beneficiaries by being involved in community groups such as Plastic Free Ashford. Another thing, which if any of you guys were on the social media course this morning, was about engaging with people through doing kind of novel things and collaborating. So this is a collaboration we did with the Picture House, where we made bags. We now make bags. Our bags are made out of popcorn boxes. Okay, so things like that have then helped get more people through the door to our plastic-free shop, which is upstairs in our shop, and also engage with more people to do things like the free eco-bricking workshops that we provide. We also generate money through things like our workshops, and this one here is from Ruth, which is Fanny and Flo, and she is here today. We have also fundraised through doing things like our pre-loved clothing markets. This was a really good fundraiser for us. And we also have a gallery, and that's another way for different communities and different social enterprises in the borough to advertise what they do as well. Of course, we make money through our shop and our members that pay a percentage of what they do too. So what we found our biggest success is just being a massive part of the community and networking as much as possible and loving our local area.
Fantastic, Melissa. Any questions for Melissa?
Or any of them.
Or anybody, yes. Any questions for me? I'll try and avoid answering. Okay, well, thank you, panel. I think we're going to swiftly assemble our next panel. So if our next contestants can come up here, that'd be great. Here we come.